Today we're going to talk about something I haven't talked about on my channel yet. Although if you follow me on TikTok, links down below, you probably do know a little bit about my practice. My name is Corey, I am an author and a witch. Welcome back to the crypt. Now, I do want to preface with saying that I'm not going to get into the hows or whys of witchcraft or a lot of tutorials or anything like that. So if you're looking for more basic information like what witchcraft is and what it isn't, I would recommend the creators down below that I will link. I also highly recommend Spells for Change by Frankie. I've linked their channel down below. Frankie's magic is very, very practical, so it's very useful for these kinds of workings. If you're looking for meditation stuff and you're not afraid of a very dry, almost mathematical read, I recommend Psychic Witch. I will link both of these down below in addition to all of the other videos. There are going to be a lot of resources down below, so definitely check them out if you're curious about more information on anything I'm discussing today. The only thing I will say about it is that witchcraft is a tool and a practice, not a religion. So we will not be having any religious discussions today of any kind. This has nothing to do with religion. But yes, if you have basic questions about witchcraft, I can try to answer a few in the comments below, but primarily you're going to want to go to content creators that is their specialty. I can only give you so much information. I mostly just do my own practice. I'm definitely not a catch-all for information. We're going to talk about sigil workings. So what is a sigil? Well, I'll go ahead and link you exact videos that break down sigils, once again down below, in case you're wondering and you want more in-depth information on sigil workings. But the basics of a sigil is a symbol. It's a symbol that stands for either an entire phrase or a set group of words or even a singular word. So for me, I really have a hard time with focus, and I also have a hard time with creativity when my brain is very scattered and pushing the creativity forward. I have generalized creativity all the time. My brain is very creative. The problem is putting that creativity onto paper, or rather onto a computer. I thought, well, I could use my magic to assist with that, maybe. I already have focus and I already have creativity. I just need a way to call them back to me when I need them. My kind of sigils that I tend to use the most are either protective workings or workings like this. Workings that are supposed to call back or push forward something I already have in my life that I just need a little bit more of at exact time. If you want to make a sigil that's supposed to do something that you don't necessarily have, so let's say, for example, you want to do a sigil of, I want to be a New York Times bestseller, but you haven't even written the first sentence and you don't have any idea of what the book will even be yet. That's going to be a lot harder to do. You have no steps you've done to get you towards that goal. You're just hoping magic pulls it out of thin air, and that's not what magic does. Magic, like so many things I discuss on my channel, is a tool. So how you use it is what's important. And you do need other materials. You can't just use the tool and hope it'll work out. That'd be like trying to buy a wrench and expecting it to fix all your plumbing for you. You're still the one that's gonna have to use the tool and do all the hard work to get your plumbing fixed. So for me, I like to already have everything in place. So I have focus, I have creativity and drive. I just sometimes can't call it to myself when I sit down to write. So that's what I created these for. So these were part of a little experiment to see if I could incorporate my magic into my writing more. So I created 2 shaker jars. Again, I will leave links down below if you're curious about what a shaker jar is, but it's essentially a spell in a jar and you shake it to activate it. This one is focus, and it is quite old, honestly. I've had this one for a while, but this one's the new one. This is creativity, and you can actually see the sigil on the outside, whereas this one, all of the sigils are wrapped up on bay leaves inside, so you can't really see them. The point of a sigil is for it to be your symbol. It's not something you should copy from other people. Although there are some sigils, such as sigil cards, that can be used, and these can be powerful in their own right, they're not nearly going to have the same kind of power as something you craft for yourself. My process of creating sigils is pretty straightforward. I think about the kinds of things I want, and I think about everything associated with them. So for creativity, for example, again, I have creativity. My problem is pushing the creativity forward. So the first step when I create any kind of sigil, especially these, is I would sit down with a piece of paper and write down everything I was looking for. I made sure I kept all of it in a neat little pile, so I wasn't all over the map. So creativity was very focused on, okay, what about my creativity exactly? Well, it needs to be creativity that gets a project finished. It needs to be creativity that completes things. So completion was one of my words. Dedication, forward motion were two other words. So I knew I wanted a part of a symbol that stood for creativity. So something very much like a swirl, a continuous loop, but that wasn't enough. I needed that loop to pull forward somehow. So I created symbols that were arrow-like and were pointing towards a direction. This meant that my creativity had direction and forward motion. In other words, I was looking for different shapes and forms that reminded or harkened back to the things I was thinking of. Are they really aesthetically pleasing? Not necessarily. They're very messy looking. I think they look nice, but to everyone else, they look really bizarre probably, and that's okay. The symbol is for your purposes. Now, the big question, did they work? Well, I mean, I did use them in a ritualistic way for the month of November. What I did was every time I sat down to write, I would take up both of these and I would shake them. You actually saw me do this in a few of my videos. Sometimes I would mutter things under my breath like focus, focus, or creativity, forward motion. I would say these things over and over again while shaking them. Then I would set them down with intention and write. This was my ritual, and because I had that ritual, I was able to focus after doing that and get a lot of things done. The problem was always, of course, me actually sitting down and having the energy and time to actually write. Whoa, so full-time employed over here. I had other factors factoring in during the month of November outside of this, but these did help. I did have a lot of executive dysfunction during November, and when I used these, they did assist. However, how much of it was this and how much of it was just simply me being dedicated to getting something done? That's the rub. And that is why witchcraft is a pseudoscience. That's why we don't have any proof or evidences of everything. I can't prove to you guys or myself that these are the things that worked the most in the month of November. What I can say is that they did help me focus a little bit. The act, the continuous repeated action of shaking them cued my brain that it was time to write. And this is just basic routine setting information. A lot of writers do have a set particular bit of routines or an action that they perform every single time, be it looking out the window for a certain amount of time and thinking about their day, journaling in the morning, having a cup of coffee. There's a lot to be said about ritual, and that ritual in and of itself is magic. It helps you focus and it tells your brain that it's time to get something done. Was it the sigils or was it the ritual? Honestly, I don't know. I'm not here to tell you guys for sure that this worked, but just to share with you a little bit of the magic that I used in November and what I found interesting about it. Before you go rushing off to make your own sigil, one last disclaimer. If you don't know absolutely anything about witchcraft, I do really recommend that you do a little bit of research. Again, I'll link some videos down below, including the one for basic grounding. You really do need to learn at least a little bit about that and how your energy even feels before you try to mess with it in any function, even if it's a gentle form like this that seems really innocent. Always make sure you know and you do a little bit of inner work first. It's very possible that distractions, things like that, could be housed in other things you're trying to avoid. For example, some of the things that distract me are elements of my anxiety, and that's something I need to actually address, not just try to brush under the rug or try to solve with magic. You don't solve mental illness with magic. That's ridiculous, and if anyone tries to sell you that, completely 100% throw it out the window. It's garbage and it's not true. Magic is a tool. It is not replacing anything, and it's not supposed to do something for you. I loved using these in my creation process, and I'm interested to see what would happen if I used it more heavily in my creation process, such as having a sigil in as the background image for one of my works in progress on Scrivener. I'm interested on what that would do. I think that'd be really interesting to see. But let me know down below, do you guys have any rituals that you do before you write to kind of help your brain get into the writing process? If so, what are they? Because I am always game to learn more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.